You get everybody staring for days. All they see is just a young, pretty face. But I'm trying to get to know you much better. Don't matter how much time it will take. But there's something you're trying to hide. There's something you're keeping inside. But I'm trying to get to know you much better. Don't matter how much time it will take.
Hello. Welcome to I Am That Girl podcast. We have conversations with women that are doing amazing things in our community, just women doing amazing things in general, right? And today I have a very special guest, Miss Jonaee Coffey of Coffey and Biz. So I have a couple of pointers I want to give before we actually have you take over this morning, Jonaee. So you are the owner of Coffey and Biz, a consulting firm that offers business formations, virtual administration, and corporate training services. Jonaee is also the founder of Korporate Kidz USA, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that teaches children how to be financially fit and business savvy entrepreneurs. Welcome, Jonaee. So, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm so good. It's been a productive day. I started with some powerful prayer this morning, and I was just in a good space today. So I'm feeling good.
Awesome. So I got a surprise for you. This is my first time doing this on this podcast. But when we talk about business formations, like this song, you know, Beyonce is my girl. I don't care what nobody say about it. This song reminds me of you because I'm like, Jonaee, like, we gonna get these business formations going, right? So, y'all look. Oh. Go, girl. But here comes your part. Let's get it formation.
You know what's so funny?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna tag my friend Davina.
Okay, go for it.
I am gonna tag her because Davina is so funny. And that's my sis, and I absolutely love her. And she called me one day and she said, "Sis, you know, like how Beyonce says, get in formation."
Right.
It was like, you are the queen of formations. And I said, I like that. I'm the queen of formation. So it's so funny because, yeah, you played that song and it just reminded me of Davina because she always says that. So that's so funny.
Oh, yes. When I was posting last week, I was like, oh, yeah, this Jonaee right here. You finna get information messing with Jonaee.
Right. Yes. No, for real. You're going to get information and you're not coming out of it. So, yeah.
Yes. So, Jonaee, thank you so much for joining I'm That Girl podcast today. Give our audience a little bit of your background.
Ooh, child. Okay. I'm multifaceted, and for me, that means that I'm a jack of all trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love how God does what he does because I didn't go the conventional route.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in high school and I had an amazing college career counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, so Jonaee, when you graduate from high school, what do you want to major in? What do you want to become? And I told her that I wanted to be the CEO of my own company. And so she was like, so what is that company going to do? And I said, I don't know, but that's what I know I want to do. I want to be a CEO of my own company. And so my family used to always say, like, Jonaee knows how to talk like, corporate, like she knows how to talk like that. And that was very early on. But I went to college, but I'd never finished. And so then I was 21 years old, pregnant with my first daughter, walking down the aisle, 7 months pregnant, preacher's kid, all of the things, letting all of the people say everything that they could ever say. And so then I started, taking care of my family. Then 22 came or 23 came, I had another kid. By 25, I had 3 children. And so I was building a family. I was a young wife and I was working jobs. And so while I was pregnant with my 3rd child, I worked for LegalZoom. And a lot of people know about LegalZoom. They form businesses. And so I learned so much about business formation. And I also started tapping into my gifts. My dad would make me send out letters for his church because he's a pastor. Okay. And so I was like, I'm really administrative. And I started just like doing admin and working jobs. And so fast forward to 2017, I had my youngest son, my 4th child, and I went through a divorce and it was just crazy. And California is disrespectful when it comes to the cost of living. Ain't nobody got for it. And so my boss, I was working at UCLA at the time, and she said, why did you clean your desk off? And I used to always get in trouble because I decided to start my administrative company while working there. And on my lunch breaks and, even sometime like doing my work, I would sneak and do my business stuff. And so she used to call me like, Jonaee, now, you can't be up in here doing your client stuff what are you doing? But long story short, so I quit UCLA. I moved here to Las Vegas. I worked for a collections company and I went to therapy. And my therapist said, what's going on? And I said, I'm so depressed on my job and I just want to run my business. And I just kind of want to go back to school. Said, okay, well then quit. And I was like, ma'am, you didn't hear me say I have 4 kids?
Right.
What you mean quit? And she said, quit. Next week, when you come in and we have our session, I want you to give me your plan. And so my plan was to drive Uber and do Postmates and run my business. And that's exactly what I did. And I have not driven Uber or Postmates or done any of it since August of 2018. I learned, thank you. I learned how to utilize my gifts and my experiences. And so that is my background.
Oh, that is so amazing. Thank you for sharing your story with us. So I totally had all these questions that I was going to ask, but I know the viewers that are on today, these are people that are trying to do exactly what you did by putting you first, right? And deciding that today would be the last day that I put my company or someone else's company before me. And so some of the guests I invited to watch today are eager to either retire and start their own businesses. And I won't even say businesses. They're ready to retire from their job, and people from age, 20 and up here to, fire their bosses, right? And if anybody asks, I always say, you need to know Jonaee Coffey. So I know so many people today are eager to hear in your profession exactly what you do to help people go to the next step in business. So I wanted to really dive into a conversation today, just really talking about the business formation. I know you've gotten kind of not so much doing that as much because you've started new ventures. But when we think of the guru of business formations, we think of Miss Coffey at Coffey and Biz. So if you could just share some of the things that new business owners or even current business owners, they need to know about starting up their businesses, what would you say? Your mic is muted.
There we go. I'm sorry. Sorry about that, y'all. So first things first, I would say is to identify any fear that you are experiencing now.
Mm-hmm.
Identify fears, identify even your own objectives as to why you haven't started, why you've waited this long. What has stopped you? Sometimes it's timing, but other times we make the excuse that it's timing when really it is fear.
Mm-hmm.
So to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a certain mindset. You've got to have a very strong mindset. And the reason I say that is because things don't always pan out the way that you want them to. You have to, it's a process, and you have to be patient in this process, right? You have to be sure in this process about who you are and the transformation that you can provide to the clients or the customers that you'll be serving.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to really know that, before you start an LLC, before you go look at some paperwork or think about an amazing name or go buy a logo or a domain or any of that, it is first identifying any fears or anything that would stifle you from growing as a person, as an entrepreneur, as a wife, as a husband, as a parent. Like, identify that now. You don't have room for insecurity in business. You don't have room. Just keep it real. The second thing that I would suggest is to really, really look at your competition. And so a lot of people are like, no, don't look at competition. Like, you just need to focus on your gifts. No, you need to do market research. Market research is going to tell you if you are going to succeed. It's going to give you the likelihood of you succeeding in the industry that you are looking to get started in. Again, formation is more than paperwork. Formation is building out an operation, building out a system that is sustainable so that it doesn't fall within the first 5 years of you getting into business. And so you really want to identify too, what is the industry saying? What is the climate like in my industry? You can start polling people. You can start asking questions on social media. Start doing some market research with your competitors. Who are your competitors? What is working for them and what's not working for them? What gaps are you filling as a business? What gaps are you filling? I know, like, Marquetta is in real estate, right? There are tons of people in real estate, but what sets her apart? What makes her amazing? What makes people want to work with her? That is market research. And if you don't do market research, you're doing yourself a disservice because you don't have a clear picture of the industry that you are entering into.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing is doing some research regarding the type of entity that you want to be. And so what do I mean by that?
This is what, not to cut you off, this is the meat and potatoes, listeners. For all you guys that are listening, here you go. Go ahead, Jonaee.
Yes. So this is what I really want to share with you in terms of formation. Okay. You have to look at the type of entity that you want to become. Not everybody needs an LLC. Mm-hmm. Not everybody needs a corporation. Not everybody needs a nonprofit, right? So a lot of people say, well, excuse me, I need to start an S Corp. Well, an S Corp is not an entity. An S Corp is a tax election, right? So you hear a lot of people talking about everybody needs an LLC, everybody needs that. But I tell you that if you're not generating income right away, you may not need an LLC. Why? Because you've got to maintain the LLC. So just speaking for people who are here in Nevada, Nevada charges $425 just to start your limited liability company, which is an LLC. $425. And every single year, you have to renew that LLC and pay $350. Failure to renew on time, they're going to add a penalty onto the $350, which ends up being around $525 total once they add that penalty, plus interest. Okay. So this is why you've got to be disciplined or get somebody like myself that is going to help you to stay compliant in your company, in your business. Now, when do you need an LLC? What is an LLC? And I'm only going to stick with LLCs because I'll give you the difference. So let's just say I'm starting a t-shirt company. And my t-shirt company is low maintenance, right? It is low liability. Not too many people are being sued over a t-shirt. Okay.
Right.
So unless you're bringing in a whole lot of revenue, you don't need to start an LLC right away. You can be what they call a sole proprietorship. Some people call it a DBA. It is basically Jonaee Coffey doing business as T-shirts and beyond. That is what's called a sole proprietorship. Now, the issue with the sole proprietorship is that you are tied to that business. You as an individual are tied to that business. So if someone were to come and sue you, they would be coming after you directly because you are the business. You're just an alias, right? Which is why most people like to get an LLC. A limited liability company is an LLC, and that is an actual entity, okay? It is separate from yourself in terms of the entity, okay? So if someone were to come and sue the t-shirt company, they are coming after the company itself and not your personal assets, such as your house, your car, and things like that. However, you also have to understand the taxation. The taxation by default on a limited liability company is you are taxed as a sole proprietorship. What does that mean? That means that you are claiming all of the income and deductions on a Schedule C paired with your personal taxes. The taxes pass through to the individual person directly, meaning that there's no individual tax for just the business. If you are a multi-member LLC, which is 2 or more owners, then both of those partners are going to be issued what's called a K-1, which is like a W-2 from your business that you claim on your personal taxes, and you are taxed as a partnership. You can also, as an LLC, be taxed as an S corporation. So there's a lot of nuances when it comes to taxation and when it comes to entity formation. But the main thing that if I could stress anything, is to really start identifying the liability. If you're a catering company and you're serving food, I'm going to tell you right away, go get an LLC because it's a higher liability. Versus, like I said, a t-shirt company, you could start as a sole proprietorship. And then once you start making that revenue, then you can, move to an LLC.
So I know my family that's probably on. You guys need to be an LLC because they selling food.
Okay.
Selling food. I'm not sure what other passions, but I know like my mom and my aunts and you guys. First of all, you need to contact Miss Jonaee Coffey. Jonaee, can you give us your phone number or email? How do we contact you?
Absolutely. So you can actually go to my website. I'd be more than happy to, consult with you. We do a 15-minute coffee chat, pun intended. And so the 15-minute coffee chat is where I can help you to identify what type of structure you need. And so you could simply visit the website. It is www.coffeeandbiz.com. And I'm actually going to put it down in the chat so you can take a look at it. But again, it is www.coffeeandbiz.com. So it's COFFEY and A-N-D, and then biz, B-I-Z like zebra.com. If you like, you can also contact me via email at info@coffeeandbiz.com, or you can give me a call on my business line at 323-744-8571.
Jonaee said, come on through Coffee Biz.
That's my day. Davina, I just want to say that Marquetta said that there was a song that reminded her of me, and it was Beyonce, Formation. And I told her I was tagging you.
Yes, because Jonaee is going to get us in formation. I think we have 4 or 5 businesses, a couple of nonprofits, but at the end of the day, we don't know nothing about nothing. We calling Miss Jonaee Coffey to get us information.
Yes, and it is always my pleasure.
Because you're professional, you're timely, easy to work with. man, I could go on and on and on.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
the queen of formation.
Thank you.
So, I do want to talk about a couple of other things that you do as well, because not only do you help businesses get in formation, but you also help nonprofits get into formation. So, for those that are listening today or listening on a replay, what can you give us really quick about nonprofit formations?
So nonprofit formation is a labor of love. Let me say that. You guys know I'm going to always talk about your mindset because it's so important.
It
And
is.
so a lot of times people have a great idea and they want to help a certain demographic. And so they say, well, I'm just going to raise money and I'm going to get grants and I'm going to start a nonprofit. Like, why not? And so when people call me, I usually ask a few questions. And so one of the questions I ask is, I really want to identify if your idea is a charitable or nonprofit business activity, because sometimes there are certain people who start nonprofits for the wrong reason. And the reason why they start nonprofits is because they want a tax write-off from their business. And so what they do is they form a nonprofit and they try to get real creative with their taxes. And so that is not a good enough reason to start a nonprofit organization. You want to make sure that it is really good for the people that you are serving, which is the community. Now, is there a tax benefit? Absolutely. So if you are donating, great. But that's just kind of like an addition, right? The heart of the why is to make sure that you want to serve a certain demographic. So the other question that I ask is, do you have the bare minimum of a board of directors? And your board of directors would consist of a president, a treasurer, a secretary, and then in the state of Nevada, also a director. So again, it's a president, treasurer, secretary, and at least a director. Have other board members as well. I always suggest having an odd number because of that vote, right? So that odd person can always be that vote. And you want to make sure that you are establishing your why very early on. Start forming your mission statement, your vision statement, because a lot of people say, well, I want to position myself for grants. The formation of the nonprofit in terms of getting a 501c3 tax exemption status so that people can donate and write it off, right? That's easy. Forming it in your state is easy. Creating bylaws is easy. At least to me, these things are easy, right? They're standard things that you need to do. But when it comes to the storytelling that comes with nonprofit, when it comes to people donating and your strategic plan, oftentimes people are not ready for those conversations. And for what happens is your board of directors, they start off strong and then they fall away. And that usually happens in really every nonprofit. And so there has to be some shifts that happen because board members are not paid. Okay. The Bible, look at me. The IRS says that the board of directors, they have to be paid within reason, or they can be paid within reason, but usually they do not like to see that board members are paid by the nonprofit. And so I always just kind of ask those questions, and have you established your board? Do you have a mission statement or at least an idea of what your nonprofit is going to do? And have you started working on some of the programming, or at least started thinking about some of those things? So while you're waiting for your 501c3 status, which could take about 90 days, you're on the back end working with your board of directors to really build the infrastructure and the capacity within the organization.
Awesome. Great information. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I know a lot of people who, again, got on today are, oh, Marquetta, I'm looking to start a business, or Marquetta, I'm looking to start a nonprofit. And so when I said, well, I got as your friend says, the queen of formation on my podcast today, you guys definitely need to tune in and contact her. Like, let's not do it halfway, right? Because we started over at a certain point with our company, because I want to say we started in 2016, realized everything wasn't what it should be. started back over about 2018 with our business, got with the right people, and we began to soar in business. So we thank you for what you've done for DeVille Realty Group. As you guys know, yes, DeVille Realty Group is our baby. It's the sponsor of my podcast. It's my why, and why I do what I do is to educate the community. And I'm really passionate. I've grown such a passion about entrepreneurship. So if I could ever share information with my friends, my family, anybody that will listen, I will share the information. And I may not know it all, but I know who can tell you what you need to know to make sure it's on the up and up. So we appreciate you, Jonaee. And I didn't want to take the whole conversation of talking work, because I know you have other passions like your own personal 501c3 Kids Biz. And I would love to hear more. I'm pretty sure our audience would like to hear more about your nonprofit as well. And what was it built? What was your vision around Korporate Kidz USA?
Wow. So Korporate Kidz USA is a DBA. The foundational name is the Generation Uplift Foundation. I started it back in 2014 in Inglewood, California. And I love young people. I love young people. I used to youth pastor when I was in LA as well. And I don't know, it's just something about the honesty and the zeal and the innocence of kids. It's just, I love to be around it. So Korporate Kidz USA came about because I wanted to start seeing kids start their own businesses. And so my kids and I, we got together with my mom and my sister, and we started a candle line. And it's so funny. That's actually how I met Greg. So I met Greg through Sparkle, and I met him at, I think it was like a real estate event or something. And so they started talking about my candles. And so Greg says, my wife loves candles. And I said, really? I was like, well, I have some in the car. And so I sold him the candles. And I went home to my kids, and they were so excited because that was another sale. They felt so good, and they started seeing the money grow in their account. And I was like, this is something that is exciting to them, and I want to teach this to other kids. And so while the Generation Uplift Foundation started as a mentorship program, it evolved into Korporate Kidz USA, or another branch, where we taught kids how to become financially fit and business savvy kid entrepreneurs. And so in 2018, we did a workshop at the Microsoft store at the Fashion Show Mall, and we taught kids on Canva how to create graphics. And we talked about marketing and what their graphic was saying to their audience. And it was dynamic just hearing like what or how they interpreted what they designed and what they wanted their audience to get the message right from just their flyer. It was amazing. And so the other thing that we did was in 2020, with the help of Go Urban Vegas, we actually did another event at the Chick-fil-A right on the Strip. And so as we know, yes. So the Chick-fil-A, and this was during pandemic. And so the Chick-fil-A is the Black-owned Chick-fil-A here in Las Vegas. It's on the Strip. And so they were so kind to just allow our youth to go in and tour the facility. They explained how they do certain things. But prior to the tour, we sat outside and we did a workshop where basically they had to come up with their own businesses, their own marketing, and their own audience. They had to kind of like clarify who their audience was. And again, the business ideas that these kids were coming up with was amazing. Like, it blew my mind. So that is kind of just how it was birthed and what it's about. And I've kind of placed it on pause because life is lifing. But
it happens to all of us, so it's okay.
Listen. However, I'm super excited because when it does get back up and running, I actually have a few ideas that I know was like supernaturally downloaded that I do want to share and see the kids execute.
Oh, awesome. Well, I do try to keep our podcast roughly around 30 minutes. So Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm excited to see what you have up your sleeve because it's always something amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
But there's one question that I love to ask all my guests that come on. So I would be remiss if I did not ask you this question.
Uh-oh.
What would you tell the younger Jonaee Coffey?
Whew. I would tell the younger Jonaee Coffey that she is worthy, that she is unstoppable, regardless of any barriers that were placed in front of her. I would remind her of the authority that she carries in Jesus Christ and that he had already said that I was triumphant. And so whatever I was facing didn't matter because I was going to overcome it anyway. I would tell the younger Jonaee Coffey to be very persistent and to not doubt herself, but to stand firm in who she is and to execute, even if there's fear there, to do it scared. Because on the other side of it is victorious, and she was made for that.
Amen. Talk about it. I love that answer. You're so amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. And I know I asked you earlier to tell the audience how to stay in contact with you for business purposes, but how can they also find you on social media? Or the best way to find you if social media works for you, email, website. Give us that information one more time.
So these hackers out here, they're real janky, right? We all know it. And so my Facebook recently got hacked a few months ago and I had to start all over. My Instagram got hacked. Everything was hacked. And so you can reach me here on Facebook at Jonaee Coffey. The spelling is there somewhere. Jonaee. Last name Coffey. So you can reach me on Facebook. On Instagram, I just created a new page and it is long. It is, but it's Jonaee _your_ops, OPS _bestie, because I'm your ops bestie.
Okay.
And so I want to help you get your operations and your business in order. So you can see me on Instagram. It's not so much developed yet because I just restarted the page, but definitely here on Facebook. And of course, I just put my website down in the comments below. So if you want to reach out that way, you can, or you can give me a call on my phone number at 323-744-8571. That is the Coffey and Biz line.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I know there's some people on that are excited about connecting with you. So I am excited to have you on the show today. And I know you cleared up a lot of misunderstandings in regards to business for a lot of people today. So thank you. Jonaee is so busy, you guys, but she took the opportunity to share with you for free and to come on and give you information. So make sure you do that 15-minute coffee chat. It's worth it, right?
Yes, it is.
Your life will never be the same. So we are going to close out. Thank you, Jonaee. Again, my name is Marquetta DeVille. I am your host of I Am That Girl podcast, happening here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My podcast is sponsored by DeVille Realty Group, Las Vegas. We have 3 locations to serve you. If you have any real estate needs, make sure you reach out to us. We can be found on all social media platforms at DeVille Realty Group, or you could just reach out and see what I have going on with real estate podcasts, whatever I have going on. You can find me on all social media platforms at Marquetta DeVille. Thanks, Jonaee. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.